Iran considered itself well protected until its Islamic neighbors broke the alliance and abandoned the neutrality that Tehran treated as a shield. The change became evident when attacks were launched from Bahraini territory toward Iran, and when Kuwait, Jordan, and Bahrain were once again hit by Iranian missiles and drones. And when did the Gulf bloc toughen its rhetoric? In joint defense. The Saudi foreign minister, Prince Faisal bin Farhan, and his Arab counterparts from Qatar, Oman, Bahrain, and Jordan condemned Iran's repeated attacks against countries in the region. They rejected any actions that undermine state sovereignty or threaten regional security and stability. The statement was made after Iran closed the Strait of Hormuz and attacked several Gulf countries. Tehran was betting that religious closeness, oil business, and the fear of a regional war would prevent its neighbors from cooperating with its enemies. That bet began to fall apart. Bahrain has already emerged as a launching point against Iranian territory. The Gulf Cooperation Council began to treat an attack against one nation as an attack against all. And Saudi Arabia once again directly confronted the pro-Iran network in Yemen, which made its neighbors turn against Tehran. I'll tell you all about this in a moment. If you like this kind of straightforward and no-nonsense content, consider subscribing, because here there's a video like this every day. On the night between July 13th and 14th, 2026, the United States carried out another wave of attacks against Iran. Central Command reported that the offensive targeted air defense systems, coastal radars, and small vessels connected to Iran's ability to control access to the Gulf. The HIMARS system became central to this shift because of the political signal its presence sent. In March, verified video showed missiles being launched from Bahrain toward Iranian territory. Experts said that the launchers appeared to be Mark Makento and 42 HIMARS. Broke an important barrier. The territory of a neighboring Islamic nation appeared to be linked to a direct attack against Iran. The geography increased the significance of this discovery. Iran is surrounded by nations that maintain military cooperation with the United States and depend on the security of maritime routes to sell oil and gas. Tehran thought fear of retaliation would deter these governments, but the Iranian attacks had the opposite effect. Bahrain intercepted new aerial threats, and Jordan shot down 4 missiles that entered its airspace on July 14th. The Gulf Cooperation Council reacted. Jordan shot down 4 missiles that entered its airspace on July 14th. In a statement on July 9th, the member nations condemned Iranian attacks against Saudi and Qatari ships in the Strait of Hormuz, as well as offensives against Bahrain and Kuwait. The group stated that its security is indivisible and defended the right to respond individually and collectively. The United Arab Emirates also condemned on July 13th the attacks against Bahrain, Kuwait, and Jordan. The old attempt to balance dialogue with Tehran and partnership with Washington lost ground in the face of missiles crossing borders. That's when the pressure on Iran increases. Tolerance has decreased. The condemnations became joint, and the right to a collective response entered the regional discourse. In June, ministers from the Gulf and the United States had already reaffirmed the strategic partnership and defended free navigation in the Strait of Hormuz. When Iran announced the new closure, it resumed attacking vessels, the flow dropped, and the price of oil went up. Data cited by Reuters showed a drop of about 52% in ship movements between July 10 and 12, while oil rose more than 9% on Monday. For Kuwait, Qatar, Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, Oman, and the United Arab Emirates, allowing Tehran to turn the passage into a weapon means accepting huge losses in long-term security. The Iranian response showed that the regime understands the danger. The Revolutionary Guard attacked facilities linked to the United States in Bahrain, Kuwait, and Jordan, and also threatened governments that cooperated with Washington.
The armed forces of the Islamic Republic of Iran will confront any kind of disturbance and insecurity in the passage of commercial ships. Iran will deal harshly with any commercial ship or oil tanker that is diverted from its route, on a route designated by the invading pirate army of the United States and without authorization from the armed forces. And what about the forceful actions of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard and the Army of the Islamic Republic of Iran in recent days are proof of that. The leaders of the countries in the region are warned that any cooperation with the United States and any logistical support to its invading army will be considered an act of war against the sovereignty and national security of Iran. If the war intensifies in the region, the flames of the conflict will engulf all the countries in the region.
On July 14th, Iran claimed to have launched missiles against a U.S. base in Jordan. The Jordanian forces said they intercepted 4 projectiles. However, the attempt to intimidate its neighbors only increased unity against Tehran and strengthened the case for new joint defenses. The confrontation also reached the ships that sustain the regional economy. The Ministry of Defense of the United Arab Emirates reported that 2 Emirati oil tankers were hit by Iranian cruise missiles while sailing through the southern stretch of the Strait of Hormuz in Omani waters. For the Gulf governments, the attack reinforced the view that the Iranian regime no longer distinguishes between pressure against Washington and aggression toward its own neighbors. Saudi Arabia also returned to the front line against a force linked to Iran. On July 13, the internationally recognized government of Yemen, backed by Riyadh, struck the runway at Sana'a airport to prevent the landing of an Iranian plane that, according to authorities, violated Yemeni sovereignty.
Turn here, turn this way, come back, come back, come back. At this moment, dear viewers, as you can see, there are aggressive airstrikes on Sana'a International Airport so far, with 2 strikes that hit the runway, the landing and takeoff strip here, as you can see. An aggression of this kind.
The Houthis accused Saudi Arabia of carrying out the attacks and responded with missiles against Aba airport. The Saudi defense claimed to have intercepted the projectiles. The episode broke 4 years of informal truce and showed that Iran's regional network also began to come under pressure outside the Gulf. The Iranian plane ended up landing in Hodeidah, an area controlled by the Houthis. Even so, the attempt to block the aircraft had political significance. Riyadh and its allies showed that Iranian support for Yemen would not be treated as routine. Iran still has the ability to respond and continues to launch missiles and drones. The regime's mistake was to imagine that its Islamic neighbors would indefinitely accept attacks against their cities, bases, ships, and sources of income. The offensive against Bahrain, Kuwait, Qatar, Oman, United Arab Emirates, and Jordan reduced what little political room was left. With each new attack, these governments become more dependent on American protection and more willing to share defense and intelligence. On Tuesday, July 14th, the blockade announced by the United States enters its operational phase along the Iranian coast, while neutral vessels and humanitarian cargo must undergo inspection. If Tehran insists on attacking its neighbors and closing Hormuz, it will find less neutrality and a region more organized to turn Iran's isolation into military, diplomatic, and economic pressure. Thank you very much for watching this video until the end. Support our project and contribute financially through the Pix key that appears on your screen. We are an independent channel, focused on keeping you informed and telling you the truth. Your contribution helps us keep going.